Guys, I can't believe it. I just made a major discovery. It's it's 5:15 in the morning, so I can't talk very loud. I don't want to wake my neighbors, but I've been doing research all night because I have insomnia from CPTSD. So I've been sitting on my couch smoking weed and trying to figure out more about my family. I just made a major discovery. I can't fucking believe it. I'll give you a bit of background. I hope you can hear me. I'm so happy. I love when I get this. Oh, yes. Okay. What I remembered. Oh, good. There's some noise outside. I feel a little bit better by talking a bit louder. What I remembered a few months ago was that when I was about 15 or 16, I was trying to think, who else did my mother scapegoat? Okay, one night I was thinking, she scapegoated me, she scapegoated my cousin, scapegoated my other cousin, scapegoated a lot of people. So I said, who else? And I remember that she blamed our cleaning lady for stealing her wedding ring. And as soon as I remember that story, I was like, it's a scapegoat. It just has to be. It's too related to the marriage. And I realized, no, she sold the wedding ring with me. No, she said the wedding ring got stolen. It was a big diamond. But then a few months later, she sold a gold watch my father had for like $10,000 or $15,000. So now, looking back on it, I know that she sold the wedding ring also. But she couldn't tell me she's selling her wedding ring, right? Because that would have blown the whole story. So she blamed the poor cleaning lady. Anyways, that's beyond the point. So I remembered that. So then I said, okay, my parents were already starving for money back then. So to have survived until now, I don't know what they've been doing. Obviously, I know what they've been doing. I was right. Okay, so what I thought of is that the gold watch. I was thinking, where did my father get that gold watch? I mean, $15,000. It was a Patek Philippe, in case you're wondering. And then I remembered that my mother told me that he was part of an insurance company, and he sold, $1 million of insurance, so they gave him that gold watch. And right away I said, I'm thinking now as an adult, that story does not hold water. You don't give someone a gold watch as commission. You give them more money, or you give them nothing. The guy already made a lot of money if he sold $1 million, so they're not going out shopping for a gold watch. That's a mafia kind of thing. So I started to do research, thinking maybe that the gold Patek Philippe was a sign of a mafioso back then, a Jewish mafia. But that didn't pan out. So I left it at that. Now I remembered the company was called OIC. So I was researching OIC. I couldn't find anything. I gave it up. Just now, past half hour, I was researching Montreal Mafia again. And I was thinking maybe my grandmother was renting out apartments or something with real estate, because they told me she was in real estate, and that's why the family had so much money. But like I told you, I figured out that I've never seen them with any real estate. So what the fuck? You know what I mean? Let me tell you what I got here. Okay, so as I've told you before, my father had a friend who died. His name was Harry Shipp. And that was the first name that came up as the main leader of the Montreal Mafia. And I remember my father going to that funeral and calling him his friend. So that was my first connection to my father and the Mafia in Montreal. But I said, well, maybe he just knew him from around Like, what did he do for him? Was my father part of the gang? What was going on? So, I found something here, another page. It's on a Quebec website that talks about Quebec history. It's nothing to do with the mafia, nothing to do with Jewish, nothing to do with anything, so it's lucky I found it. And it talks about how this guy, okay, first of all, Harry Shipp, his second in command was a guy named Max Shapiro. That's another name that I heard as a child all the time. So I'm like, okay, now I know my father knew two of them, Max Shapiro, who I think we knew his kids very well. I think his kids were my father's good friends and my mother's good friends. Shapiros were all around us. Not so much Ships. No, I should be able to, we've related to some Ships. So, what I found out tonight is that Max Shapiro and Harry Shipp, they owned, and they started Chez Paree, which is the biggest and most famous strip club in Montreal downtown. And they started it a long time ago. So, remember I told you I figured out my parents met at a strip club? I thought that was I had assumed that my mother was, and my father were living in the area, and maybe they knew the owner, and the sign caught their attention because there was a big sign with a naked woman, and that's how they both ended up there. But now I'm seeing they have a connection to an earlier strip club, a bigger strip club right downtown. And this is a strong connection. And here's the thing, man. This new guy who I found today, Max Shapiro, he also had a company called Alpha Investment Corporation. So I was wrong. You see, it wasn't OIC, it was AIC. Now, maybe my mother said OIC, so I wouldn't find out. But it's AIC. So my father worked for Harry Shipp and Max Shapiro in an investment insurance scam that was used to launder money for prostitution, gambling, and the like. And my father worked for them at the same time. They owned those huge strip clubs downtown. So this really finally puts my father in an office or in an establishment. I'm sure it wasn't an office, it was probably a warehouse, working for mafia. Not just knowing them or being their friend, but being involved, and in a big way, because they gave him a gold watch. Wow, I cannot believe it, I finally did it. This was before I was born. Before I was born, my father, and he got into, and the reason why I was thinking about this tonight is because recently I realized my parents lived with my brother in an apartment alone. But when I was born, we were living in my mother's father's house in the basement, but still, like, with a family. So I said, hey, it doesn't sound right. I never thought about it, but why would they move from an independent situation to with the parents? I mean, I thought maybe it was financial, but then I'm thinking, no, not my father. He's from a wealthy family. His parents would never allow him to move to the other side for money, especially because they said she owned real estate, right? That was the scam I was told my whole life. So I said, okay, it must be something criminal. He got arrested, and they made him go live with family. It's like they always do. Or in his situation, they made him live outside of family when it was related to pedophilia, related to molesting, right? So he had both sides of the equation. All his life, he must have been, he's a psychopath. So he's always been involved with the law. So he got arrested. The Montreal Mafia, Harry Shipp and Max Shapiro, before I was born, when he was already married. And up to that point, my mother and my father must have had a lot of money. And then I was born around that time. My brother and I were both young. All of a sudden, they didn't have money. Narcissistic injury. They're living in a parent's house. And they don't know what to do. And then my father starts getting arrested. I mean, oh my God. I thought they had a very calm, upper class, middle, normal life. And what I found out over the past few years is that they were just true psychopaths. Crime of an organized crime nature. Child sex tourism. My mother covering for my father's, sexual crimes. My mother being a prostitute, cocaine addict her whole life, an alcoholic. I say alcoholic because I'd remembered that she showed me this bruise on her in the last few years that I was speaking to them. And she said she fell in the hospital. Now I know anytime she ever told me something in a certain way, that it was a lie. Almost everything my mother ever told me was a lie. So, the bruise was unlike anything I'd ever seen, except for a documentary on alcoholism. I mean, the bruise went from like her knee to her freaking heart. I mean, it was like her whole torso, legs and everything. So then I looked up cirrhosis of the liver, because I thought that's what causes bruising. Yeah, certainly that's what causes that kind of bruising. It's the only thing. And I was suspicious because she drinks every time we're with her, but she always says, oh, I'm going to take one drink. Oh, you know me, I like to take 1 or 2 drinks. So we believed her, even though she would get drunk. We didn't think much of it. But ever since I've been traumatized, my brother's been gone, I've been thinking, and I realized, my God, her brother is a major alcoholic. Morning till night. And my mother is very close to her brother. And that's when I put things together. I said, it's not just the cocaine they have in common, it's also the alcohol. Because every stripper I know, they don't just do cocaine. They're in the bar all the time. They're in the strip club. They're drinking all the time. They all become alcoholics if they stay strippers for too long. I just can't believe it. I finally made the connection. Well, if he was working for an insurance scam, it's not so bad. Something that I did note is that the Montreal Mafia in the 40s and 50s committed very few murders. There was only a couple at the end when it got handed over to the Italians, the Sicilians. But it wasn't like Harry Ship, Max Shapiro, or my father were involved in anything, more morally repugnant than, say, prostitution and I guess child sex tourism. I'm sure that's how my father got involved. Anyways, I just had to record that because up to this point I knew my father knew these people. I knew my mother had probably worked in their clubs, but I didn't know if there was a association between my father and these mafia leaders on a business level. But now I know that watch, that gold watch. My mother sold her wedding ring and the gold watch when my father got arrested for like the 3rd time. This is when I was about 15 or 16. And at this point she'd had enough. It had been the 3rd time. He wasn't going to be in the house anymore, and I was old enough she didn't have to watch over me. So around 15 or 16, looking back on it, I got lucky because my father couldn't be around, so I got to drive his Cadillac for 2 years. 16 to 18, I'm driving a Cadillac, and he's not, and I don't have a father around really. They said he was going on vacations again or something. So, and I don't have a mother watching me either. And that's why I became a wild maniac. And that's why I was arrested so many times between the age of 16 and, 20, 20 years old. Or 16 and 18. I think I stopped after I was an adult. I got arrested almost every few weeks for like disturbance of peace, just mischief basically. Anyhow, I'm really excited. I'm going to let you guys go there. I know it's not as exciting for you, but, if this rabbit hole, I keep thinking I'm at the bottom, and then I keep thinking, well, maybe I can go deeper. Maybe I can go deeper. And I know that I can go deeper. My next step will be to contact the child psychologist that saw me when I was a little boy. He's still at the school just a few blocks away, ironically. It's a small world. He's a professor there. I'm sure he would speak to me and tell me what my father did and what it was all about, why he was seeing me. As well, I can contact the teacher who I shared with my brother, who I believe reported that my brother reported the molestation to her, and she reported to the school. Or she dealt with it directly with my parents. I'm not sure if the school ever got involved, or if the police ever got involved at that level, because that was when we were really young. It was like the first time that I know of my brother. I mean, I'm sure my father I know my father had got caught raping a boy when he was a young boy himself. He got caught raping a younger boy. He went inside a box, an electrical box, where no one could see him, I guess, to play hide and seek. He lured him up there, and then he closed the door behind him and he raped him. Or at least he tried to. I know that because his father caught him and beat the hell out of him. Apparently, my mother said that was the only time he ever got beaten up by his father. Now, my mother didn't say he raped the boy. He said he just played hide and go seek. And he was caught hiding in an electrical box, which was dangerous, so his father beat him up. No. Everything my mother said was a lie. Oh, something else I realized is that... I'll tell you guys other videos. I just want to let this one go. I'm really happy.